My name is Olivia, and I've always believed that no job should ever be looked down upon. Every profession, whether it's seen as glamorous or ordinary, plays an important role in society. This belief has been tested time and again throughout my journey as a female carpenter, a role that is still seen as unusual by many. Today, as I stand in front of the large commercial facility that I helped build, I am filled with pride. It feels like watching my own child come to life, a testament to years of dedication, hard work, and passion. But the path that led me here wasn't easy. There were challenges beyond the construction site, especially involving family, that left deep scars. Growing up, my father was my hero. He was a carpenter too, running his own construction company. To me, Dad was invincible. His strong frame, kind eyes, and determination inspired everyone around him. I would follow him to work sites even as a young child. He would tell me it was dangerous, but I think he liked having me around, secretly proud that his daughter was so interested in carpentry. I wasn't just tagging along because I adored my father. I was fascinated by what he did, watching houses go from simple blueprints to full structures. My first toy was a plastic hammer, but I begged for a real one until Dad finally gave in. He taught me the basics: how to hold the hammer, how to measure twice and cut once. I was hooked. By middle school, I had already mastered some traditional techniques. My father and his crew were amazed at my skills. It wasn't just about swinging a hammer. I understood the importance of every nail, every beam. My younger brother Robert was born around this time. I had always wanted a sibling, and Robert was adorable. I helped care for him, stepping in for Mom whenever she needed a break. It was a busy time, balancing school, helping Dad, and taking care of Robert. But I loved every moment of it. By the time I reached high school, I had already decided on my path. I was going to be a carpenter, just like Dad. I chose a technical high school focused on architecture, which was the perfect environment for me. During my high school years, I gained real-world experience by working on construction sites during my vacations. My father introduced me to many experienced foremen, and though they were skeptical at first about a teenage girl joining their crew, they quickly changed their minds when they saw what I could do. By my third year, I was apprenticing under a highly skilled and award-winning foreman, thanks to Dad's connections and my growing reputation. It was an incredible learning experience that set new goals for me. Goals beyond just building houses. I wanted to understand architecture more deeply, so I decided to go to university instead of jumping straight into the workforce. University was challenging, especially with the added pressure of construction work during my breaks, but I managed. My brother Robert was growing up fast, and I also started taking care of Sophia, the daughter of one of the craftsmen. Her mother was ill, and Sophia spent a lot of time at our house. She and Robert were like two little angels, always bringing a smile to my face even on the most stressful days. After graduating, I joined the construction industry full-time. Instead of joining my father's company right away, I accepted an offer from the foreman I had apprenticed under. I wanted to learn more, and he was an excellent teacher. After 8 years of rigorous training, he told me I was ready to stand on my own. It was time to join Dad's firm. By then, Dad's construction company had grown significantly, and I wanted to not only maintain its reputation but elevate it. 3 years later, just as things were looking up, tragedy struck. Dad suddenly collapsed and passed away from a cerebral hemorrhage. The loss was devastating. The funeral was a somber affair, attended by family, friends, and craftsmen who had worked with Dad for years. Robert, who had just turned 20, stood by my side, trying to be strong for Mom and me. Sophia, who had grown up with us, was there too, crying as if she had lost her own father. I knew I had to step up. During the eulogy, I made a promise to continue Dad's legacy and take our construction firm to new heights. The next year was the hardest of my life. Not only was I managing construction sites, but I also had to handle the business side of things. I relied heavily on our employees, knowing I couldn't do it all alone. My job was to support them so they could do their best work, and in turn, they supported me. Slowly, we started to find our rhythm again. Then, one day, I received an invitation to speak at a meeting hosted by a construction industry association. They wanted me to talk about how I was managing the company after Dad's passing. I was hesitant. Public speaking wasn't something I was used to, but Mr. Smith, the president of a well-known construction company, insisted. He had known my father and wanted to hear my story. The day of the speech, I was nervous. I wasn't worried about speaking in front of people, but I wanted to make sure my message was clear. I spoke about my journey, about the challenges of being a woman in a male-dominated field, and about the importance of every role in construction, from the architect to the carpenter. The response was overwhelming. People clapped, and some even stood up. As I was leaving, a man approached me. "My name is Richard," he said. "I was really moved by your speech." He seemed sincere, and perhaps it was the high from the applause, but I found myself agreeing to meet him for coffee. Richard was different from anyone I had met before. He worked as a public servant in a department related to architecture, and we had a lot in common. We started dating, and for the first time in a long while, I felt truly happy. My work was going well, the company was thriving, and my personal life was blossoming. A year and a half later, Robert graduated from college with a degree in business administration and accounting. He was brilliant, and I was so proud of him. He joined our company, taking over the administrative tasks, which allowed me to focus more on the construction side of things. Together, we were an unstoppable team. As the company entered a new phase, so did my personal life. Richard proposed, and I said yes. We decided to get married, and I was excited to meet his family. But Richard warned me about his mother, Chloe. "She's a bit difficult," he said. "She might say something unpleasant." I brushed it off, thinking I could handle it, but when I met Chloe, it was clear that she had a deep prejudice against carpenters. "A woman as a carpenter? What a thing," she said, her tone dripping with disdain. "Carpenters are just worker ants, following the architect's instructions. A job of brawn over brain." I tried to explain the importance of carpentry, how architects and carpenters need to work together, but she wouldn't listen. Our wedding day was beautiful, but Chloe made sure to remind me of her disapproval. "You won't be a carpenter forever, right?" she asked as we stood in the bridal room. "Quit your job soon and support Richard. Or maybe study to become an architect like me." Her words hurt, but I didn't let them ruin my day. Richard and I started our life together, and despite Chloe's constant criticism, we were happy. I continued working at the construction sites, and Richard supported me every step of the way. Then one day, I received blueprints for a project, and I recognized Chloe's name as the architect. As I reviewed her design, I noticed a significant flaw in the foundation. Under normal conditions, it would be fine, but in the event of an earthquake or hurricane, it could fail. I knew I had to speak up, even if it meant confronting Chloe. I invited her to my office to discuss the modifications. "What do you, a mere carpenter, want with my design?" she snapped. "I'm an architect. How dare you question my work?" Her anger was palpable, but I remained calm, pointing out the flaws in her design. Just as the tension in the room was about to boil over, the door opened, and in walked President Smith. Chloe's demeanor changed instantly. "President Smith, what are you doing here?" she asked, clearly flustered. "I heard there was an issue with the project, and I wanted to see for myself," he replied. He then turned to me. "Olivia, thank you for your excellent work on the previous project. We have another one coming up, and we'd like to offer you a $10 million contract." Chloe's face went pale. "What do you mean?" Why offer such a contract to this mere carpenter? She stammered. President Smith looked at her, his expression serious. Chloe, don't you know? Olivia is a licensed first-class architect. Chloe was stunned. This carpenter? A first-class architect? She muttered, her voice barely audible. At that moment, Richard entered the office. Mom, you've always looked down on carpenters, but Olivia is indeed a first-class architect. By qualification, she ranks higher than you, he said. Chloe's face turned red with embarrassment. She had always referred to herself as a building designer to avoid mentioning her second-class architect status, which she thought sounded less prestigious. Richard continued. Olivia has apprenticed under a master craftsman recognized for his exceptional skills. She has earned her place in this industry. Chloe was speechless, and just then, Robert and Sophia walked in. Sophia had grown up into a confident young woman and had recently joined a private investigation firm. We've been investigating you, Chloe, Sophia said. The buildings you've designed have numerous defects, and there are irregular financial transactions linked to these flaws. Chloe's face went white as Sophia laid out the evidence. Architects are supposed to be honest, Mom, Richard said, his voice filled with disappointment. Your actions have trampled on that principle. Chloe broke down, tears streaming down her face. She had been accused of fraudulent billing and negligence, and if found guilty, she would lose her architectural license. It was a harsh reality, but one she had brought upon herself. In the months that followed, Chloe faced the consequences of her actions, and her license was eventually revoked. It was a difficult time for Richard, but he stood by me, and together we moved forward. A year and a half later, I found myself standing in front of the completed commercial facility, the one housing the gazebos I had designed. It was a symbol of everything I had worked for, a culmination of my journey, and the beginning of a new chapter. The company was thriving, and my relationship with Richard was stronger than ever. Robert and Sophia had also grown closer, and recently they decided to get married. The two children I had once cared for were now starting a life together, and it filled me with joy. Richard and I had also decided to start a family. We didn't want to wait too long, and if everything went well, our children might grow up alongside Robert and Sophia's. The thought of our kids playing together, growing up as close as siblings, made me excited for the future. As I looked at the facility in front of me, I knew that despite all the challenges, despite the prejudice and the loss, I had made it, and I couldn't wait to see what came next.